So I want to talk about the election because, you know, it's everyone's favorite topic. Give this video a thumbs up if you hate politics and give it a thumbs down if you love politics. But yeah, I want to pull Casey Neistat on you guys. I want to talk about, you know, who I'm voting for in this election and just my thoughts in general. Because a lot of people are saying that if you live in America and you are old enough to vote, it is your obligation to vote. And when I hear that, I will gladly stand up and voice my opinion that that is bullshit and that not everyone who can vote should vote. There's these videos that you can look up online and like you'll see like some reporter, right? And they'll go out with like a microphone and a cameraman and they'll go to like a Trump rally and they'll start asking these people how they feel about these quotes that Donald Trump has said. And you know, they'll be like on his fiscal beliefs or, you know, his opinions on the economy and like all these different facts that he said, and you know, the person listening will go, oh yeah, I totally agree with that idea. And the reporter wasn't even quoting Trump, they were actually quoting Clinton, and the person doesn't even care what the person was saying. All they care about is that Trump is Trump, and no matter what he says, they're gonna vote for him. And the same thing will happen at the Clinton rallies too. You know, have some guy come up and start saying like, how do you feel about this belief that Clinton wants to do with the economy? And then like, they're like, yeah, I totally agree with it. And it's like a Republican view, and they have no idea what the person's even talking about. If you do not know what a candidate that you're voting for stands for, you have no business stepping into a voter booth. And it sucks because you can have someone who's super educated, knows everything about both candidates running, and then you're gonna have some guy who just like doesn't want a woman to be president and his vote is like equal. It makes no sense. Like, you should have to know at least very basic terminology in order to be allowed to vote. Like, if you don't know the difference between a fiscal issue and a social issue, you shouldn't vote. At the very least, I wish they would like take away the R for Republican or the D for Democrat in front of every candidate's name, because some people just say, yeah, I'm a Republican, so I'm just gonna vote for the guy with the R in front of his name. The letter before the name does not matter as much as the name of the person who you're voting for. And I realized this on the day that I did a Twitter poll about Bernie Sanders, because I think Bernie Sanders is hands down the most authentic, genuine, caring politician that has ever ran for office in my lifetime. But I did a poll and I said, hey, does Bernie Sanders want to raise taxes or lower taxes? Bernie Sanders had the heart and soul of the millennials, and so I knew everyone who was going to answer the question for the most part was going to be a Bernie supporter. It didn't even matter. I knew the majority of the people voting were going to be in the millennial demographic. And this is not a hard question. This isn't a trick question. It's just a question, does he want to raise taxes or lower taxes to accomplish the things he wants to do? Okay? And it came out dead 50-50, which shows you that a lot of people have no idea what he wanted to do or how he was going to do it. They just liked him because he was genuine. Which is great that you want to have a genuine candidate. I think that's one of the most important things, to be able to trust who you're voting for. But also, make sure that the person you trust that you're voting for is actually going to do good things or things that you actually support. Does that make sense? Like, all I want, like, I'm not saying whether you should vote for one candidate or the other. I'm not Casey Neistat. I'm not going to like try and pressure you to vote for one candidate or the other. It's up to you. Your opinion is your opinion. But what I am saying is fucking educate yourself before you vote, please. I would rather have someone who I disagree with on every political issue, who's educated, vote on election day, rather than someone who has no idea what they're talking about and has no idea what either candidate stands for stepping into the voter booth at all. I would rather the first option. But I think the craziest part about this whole election is the fact that the people that are voting, like the majority of the people that are voting, aren't even voting for the candidate they like the most. They're voting for the candidate that they hate the least. Like, someone could say, hey, I'm voting for Trump, and like everyone on the other side is thinking like, what, you actually like Trump? Are you a racist, homophobic bigot? And it's like, the majority of them, I don't think are. I think they just don't like Clinton more. And same thing for the other way around. I think the people voting for Hillary, for the most part, I don't think they actually like her. I don't think they like trust her and think she's a great candidate. I think they're just less afraid of her being the president than Trump. And because hate is such a lower hanging fruit of an emotion, that it is so easy to get angry at someone because they don't hate the same person you hate. Like, honestly, if there was an option to have a redo of this election, that would win. That would get more votes than either candidate. Hell, I think that would get more votes than both candidates combined. And it makes total sense. I mean, look at both candidates. You have Trump, who in my opinion, is just a bitch. Like, my opinion on Trump, if I actually sat down and had a conversation with him, I feel like I could probably learn a thing or two about business, about how to invest, how to negotiate. I'm sure he knows a lot of really good stuff when it comes to those topics. But at the end of the day, the guy is just too damn emotional. The guy is 3 times my age, and I'm pretty sure he can't handle a hate comment as well as I can. Like, how the hell are you gonna vote for a guy who can't handle a mean tweet and just give him the nuclear codes? How are you gonna do that? If one president or prime minister says, fuck Trump, we're gonna be in World War III. No thank you. And then on the other side, you got Hillary Clinton, who shouldn't even be fucking running for president. She literally rigged the primaries against Bernie Sanders, who should have, like, no one even knew who he was a year ago, and he literally almost beat Hillary Clinton, who is arguably the second most popular, I shouldn't say popular, but most well-known politician besides Obama in the world. And she almost lost that even though she was rigging it. How does that happen? It happens when your name is Hillary Clinton. That's how. Because with her, when you look at all the email scandals and all the stuff about like Benghazi and like all this WikiLeaks stuff that keeps leaking about her, it's like, how do you trust her with classified information? You don't. I think it's a lot easier to vote for her though over Trump, because the stuff that comes out about Trump that's like really bad is like headline stories that are like really fun to listen to. It's like drama. It's like literally like a reality show. And then like with Hillary Clinton, it's like this it's like the Benghazi story. No, who wants to hear about that? Does anyone even care? I don't even care. And so it's much easier to understand why you would want to hate Trump, even though you could argue Hillary is literally just as bad. Which is why I encourage that if you're gonna vote for either of them, please educate yourself. Because I think the worst part about voting for Hillary is the fact that if you vote for her, you're basically encouraging corruption and money in politics and business as usual to just keep continuing. And that is probably the worst thing about this country. Because we live in an oligarchy. If you don't know what an oligarchy is, Google it, because I'm probably going to define it incorrectly. But basically, if I have it right, it's essentially when a very small group of people have very large influence or control or power over a nation or a large group of people. And so when you're trying to decide who to vote for, you're trying to pick like which one has a less horrible history. And at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're picking between the lesser of two evils, because you don't think there's another option. You don't see that there's a third option, even though hopefully you guys at least know that there is a third option and a fourth option. It's Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. And I know people in the comments are going to say no, they're not an option, neither of them are going to win. And yeah, you're right, neither of them are going to win this election because the media completely rigged it against them. I sound like Donald Trump, it was rigged against them. It was though, it really was. They didn't get nearly as much publicity as the other two candidates, and I think it's bullshit, but that's not what I want to talk about. The point I want to make is that 40% of Americans consider themselves independent, okay? If 40% of people voted for Jill Stein or Gary Johnson, it would have been a 4-way race. In fact, it probably would have been a 2-way race against Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, because if people could see they could actually vote for them and they would have a chance of winning, no one would have voted for the Democrat or the Republican. I refuse to vote for a lesser of two evils, because at the end of the day, you're still voting for evil. And if there is a third option, I'm going to pick the third option. So my vote's going to Gary Johnson. I'm voting for him, even though he's not even that great of a candidate either. He's got some flaws. I still think he is by far the best candidate of the 4. And also, if I vote for Clinton or Trump, I only give a middle finger to the other candidate. If I vote for Gary Johnson, I get to give a middle finger to both candidates, which I'm a fan of that. And if you're wondering why I'm voting for Gary Johnson, I'll try and explain it in like the least boring way possible. But basically on all the social issues, I believe in like freedom of choice to be able to do what you want, whether it's like gay marriage or gun control. You should have the right to do what you want with your life. I don't think the government should have the right to step in and be able to say, hey, you can do this or that, but you can't do that. Like shut up. It's not up to you, it's up to me. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about social issues. And then on fiscal issues like the economy and money and things like that, I'm typically more on like the Republican side of things. Like I believe in lower taxes. I believe in like me being able to have my own money. Libertarians are the only party that support gay marriage and lowering taxes. How are you not gonna vote for that? It's a no-brainer. Like my philosophy, like one of my core philosophies of who I am as a person, it comes down to this, and you can agree with me or disagree. It's completely fine, I don't mind. But I do not believe that it is okay to depend on anyone or anything to get anything or accomplish anything that you want to do in life. Like if you depend on the government for anything, it just means they control that part of your life. Like if you have a boss who is paying you to do your job, they have control over your life to a certain extent. So the more stuff you depend on other people for, the less control, the less freedom you have in your life. And I also like to think about it like this, like if you give a kid, let's say you have like a 5-year-old kid, right, and he keeps wanting toys, and you keep giving him free toys all the time, and then you stop giving him free toys, is he gonna like appreciate all the toys that you've given him in the past and like just enjoy that, or is he gonna be mad that you didn't continue to give him free toys like you've been doing before? It's gonna be the latter of the two. And as sad as it is, most people in this country are like a little kid. You give them one free thing, are they gonna appreciate it? Yes, for a minute, and then they're gonna want the next thing. I don't know, that's just like my very brief explanation of like my my political views. So I've never told you guys that before. You guys are totally fine to disagree with me. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below, like who you're gonna vote for or what your political beliefs are. I'm pretty good at having like a logical conversation and not getting emotional like 99% of people who are invested in politics do. For me, I just care that we find the best solution. That to me is what matters most. And I think most people don't even know how to have a conversation where you're trying to find a solution. They just want to feel like they're right. But anyway, I'm done talking about politics for the next 4 years, so yeah, if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up down below. If this is your first time ever watching one of my videos and you don't hate my face, feel free to subscribe. And guys, that's really all I've got to say on it, so thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you guys next Monday. Peace.